Hi, I'm Areel Abu Bakar, the director Walid and Geran. You are listening to easternKicks podcast.
Hello and welcome to the easternKicks podcast, a regular magazine programme about East Asian film led by me, Andrew Heskins, founder and grandmaster of easternKicks.com, and James Mudge, our leading writer.
Hey up.
Each episode we'll be taking a look at the latest films, news and festivals, often chatting to filmmakers and stars along the way. Welcome to the latest episode. This time we're launching a new regular format, turning our easternKicks picks into a full episode. And later on in this episode I also talked to director Areel Abu Bakar when he was in London for the Fighting Spirit Film Festival with his producer Iman To to chat about his latest film Walid. But before we get on with all that, this is always the important question. What are you drinking this episode, James?
Whiskey again, Bunnahabhain. I can't pronounce the name of it. It's one of these special bottles. It's like a Stri Rika Idar or something like that. It's 46.3%, so it's kind of a special-ish edition one. And Bunnahabhain's one of my favourites, so it's good and strong. So I've got enough for, I think, 2, maybe 3 doubles, which will see me through this. And yourself, what are you on?
Well, you know, it's getting to that time of year, so I have got myself a winter porter from Sainsbury's. Described as full-bodied, dark fruit and winter spices. It's not overdone, though. Actually, I was expecting one of those ones where they get a bit too Christmassy and you're like, oh...
I don't mind that.
You like a bit of the sort of Christmas pudding porter?
Well, it comes around once a year. You know, those porters. I don't care about Christmas so much, but the Christmas porters come around. Same as even like mulled wine. I don't mind those drinks.
It's got some of those flavours, but
if it was all year round, I'd get tired of it. But once a year is enough. I think I will quite look forward to having a couple of those Christmas dark beers and whatnot. So, what's the percentage though?
Yeah, it's a 5%.
Yeah, that's no wonder you didn't mention it.
Oh, I'm sure I've been on one of these episodes with like 4.5 or something.
Yeah, we don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about those dark days. So, shall we get on with this? So, we're taking the easternKicks picks and making a whole episode out of it. But shall we kind of talk about what we're going to be doing and what we aren't going to be doing? Because we still want this to be a nice, punchy, compact, podcast. It could be exhaustive, especially as we haven't had an easternKicks picks for a while. But what are we looking at?
Yeah. Well, I think, as you say, we haven't had one for a while, but I think it suits itself more to doing it in this way, because there is a fairly both regular and random stream of stuff appearing on there. So I think it's good to put it into this kind of format rather than tagging it on, because we've some episodes we found that there's hundreds of them to talk about and we don't have enough time, and others there's just nothing. So putting it like this actually makes sense. But yeah, in terms of what we're actually covering, it's fair to say we're going to focus more on film rather than TV, apart from bring up some notable series or things which we find interesting, but not going to be an exhaustive guide to certainly the amount of TV shows which are appearing on the streaming. So it is, I think we could say it's a curated selection as well when it comes to the film. It's not meant to be like an exhaustive dictionary. It's still a picks. It's still, if not recommendations to a degree, at least, we are choosing what to highlight. We're not just listing off everything. And as well, I'm not fully saying in advance I'm not going to get into anime or romance stuff, because I don't really know anything much about them, to be honest, and it's not really my bag. So it will be curated and as you say, not exhaustive. But in terms of the formats and everything we're covering, it will just be the main streaming platforms. Netflix, Shudder, Amazon, and not getting into some of the other, the specific studios ones, because there's so many out there. Specific to individual studios, so we'll stick to these general ones, and also not VOD ones as much. We'll mention cinema releases when they come out, but not just VOD ones, because again, that's just too much stuff out there, too much of a minefield of everything, and equally not the. I've never really got into using like the free ones. What's it called, Freevee, or it used to be IMDb TV, because I can't handle adverts anymore. You know, since we started getting like Amazon, Netflix, and everything, it's so long of not having adverts. I can't go back to having adverts every few. And they front load them in a really weird way because they know a lot of people won't watch all the films. So you can get interrupted every 5 minutes for like half an hour, and then suddenly you get half an hour with nothing. So I'm not going to get into Freevee or YouTube or sort of that kind of things as well. And I think because we're going to be doing this monthly as well, we'll be fairly not strict so much but we will stick to stuff which is in this month as much as possible, which is coming out during the month, or maybe stuff we've missed from the previous month. Not really going to get into saying, oh, this is coming a few months down the line, as well. So we can stick to it like that. And yeah, we can touch on like this month some special events where we've had film festivals like London Film Festival, London Korean Film Festival. So we can get into that side of things where it's relevant. So yeah,
cool.
Curated picks, I think, is the best way to put it. Non-exhaustive, and we also reserve the right to talk about things whatever we want anyway. So it's fine. It's the same as it's kind of like if you go to the website anyway. You know, it's not supposed to be covering every single Asian film which comes out. It's so it is very much easternKicks picks.
Yes,
as the name suggests.
So shall we get started?
Why not? I mean, well, I'll start just by saying there's nothing on Shudder, which is quite disappointing. Especially, you know, with it having been Halloween and everything, you would have thought there would have been a couple of Asian horrors which could have turned up on there, but yeah, nothing on Shudder. So straight onto Netflix, and probably one of the bigger ones which has appeared on Netflix recently is Ballerina, South Korean film, 2023, and it's interesting because Korea is still one of the countries which Netflix is really engaging with on like a production level. You know, we do actually have a whole slate of Korean productions which they're making, you know, with local companies, rather than, you know, when you see on Amazon or Netflix they'll say an exclusive or an original, and it doesn't mean anything at all. Whereas these are actually films which they are actually producing, you know, with Korean companies rather than buying them after the fact. So
I think we're going to end up touching on this again, but it's that in itself is having quite big repercussions on the South Korean cinema and actual physical cinema. Because it seems like and as I say, I think this might come up, but it's not in a great state in terms of what's going on in cinemas. But part of it is that things are going to streaming, and particularly to Netflix, and that seems to be where it's more secure, I guess. I think that the producers are kind of hedging their bets, and what with audience figures kind of going up and down, and all the struggles over COVID and having very strict lockdowns. I think they've just gone to something they know is secure rather than something where it's a gamble.
Absolutely. And also I think just when you look at a film like Ballerina, for example, there's no chance that would have got released in the West. You know, let's be honest. I mean, it might have had like a weird random turned up on DVD under a different name type of release, but it wouldn't have gone to cinemas. So it's an additional, I'm sure very, very welcome additional income stream for them, as well as actually getting it out there. So it's like all the stuff with Netflix or other streamers. It definitely has an effect on traditional cinema, but at the same time, it gives people a chance to actually see this kind of film, which we might not have gotten otherwise. So there's an increased accessibility. I mean, for us, you know, having grown up like getting these films on like DVD or Blu-ray and everything, that was going to be something like Ballerina. That would have been the only chance to actually have got it. And then if you actually bought it for like 20 quid and it was pish, then you're not going to be best pleased. So so it's a tough one because it definitely impacts traditional cinema, but at the same time, you know, it increases the accessibility. It gives an extra revenue stream. So, but then it also. Because Netflix is Netflix, and there's a certain type of content in film they actually have that influences filmmakers in advance, I guess, if they know they're making something for Netflix. Unless you're a big name filmmaker, and they give you like a real prestige project, something like you know, The Irishman, I guess. A lot of people coming into these deals with Netflix or making films with Netflix will be under their very, very strict not limitations, but the way of doing things. So it's, I mean, and actually Ballerina is a great case in point for that, because it is. I haven't watched it yet, and I'm going to, because it's 90 minutes, so I will actually watch it and cover it. But it's completely, everything I've seen about it and read about it is, it's said to be quite well done. It's by the fellow who did The Call for Netflix before, which was good, Lee Chung-hyun. No, that was a good film, and it's got the same actress in it, Jung Jung-seo from Burning as well, who also goes by Rachel Jung. I had no idea she'd taken on an English name as well. It seems a fairly random one, but never mind. But it's a completely generic plot about a former bodyguard and I guess ballerina, whose best friend gets killed by a sex trafficker, goes off, picks up her guns and goes off on a revenge mission. And I think it sort of forms a relationship with the troubled teen during it as well. So completely generic, but at the same time, it's said to be pretty slick, quite violent in places, but yeah, it's that completely middle of the road familiar plot, and that's the kind of thing. That's kind of the Netflix angle, I think, as well. I think they're much more likely to. It's not even so much playing it safe, but there's a certain type of content and everything. You wouldn't really see somebody going into either watching something on Netflix or making something for Netflix and expecting some mad, auteur vision or artistic kind of film. And I think something like Ballerina. For better or worse, and as I say, I haven't seen it yet. But for better or worse, it's that kind of safe, generic, middle of the road type of plot and everything, which they will be quite happy with. And even as an audience, when I watch a lot of stuff on Netflix and some of these other streamers, which I'm watching because I can't be bothered watching something better, or which is going to take up more of my attention or something, and. Yeah, whether or not that's a good thing is open to question, because while we've said that it helps people financially and it helps reach wider audiences, I guess in terms of Korean film, I mean, if you turn the clock back 10 years, some of the kind of films we were getting, if we'd been getting more generic stuff like Ballerina and stuff then, maybe we wouldn't have gotten so much into Korean cinema, if we weren't seeing. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where this goes. The ongoing relationship with Netflix in general, but that's a wider conversation. But I will watch Ballerina just because of the time, the running time not being long. But I don't know, something a bit more interesting. The documentary that's landed on there called Yellow Door 90s Lo-Fi Film Club, which it's a new doc. It's even less than an hour and a half. It's about an hour and 24 minutes, so I might actually check that out as well. And it's a new doc from Lee Hyuk-rae, his debut, I think it is, which looks back at a bygone era of film clubs in South Korea and how a generation of filmmakers got into film, mainly Bong Joon-ho, or at least that's the trailer. Basically, just focuses on him in conversation. But no, it sounds interesting, and I guess that kind of ties into a bit of what we were just saying about. How people get into cinema, how people get interested in film, and specifically in more. I hate that word auteur, but that kind of more sort of visionary cinema or proper film, rather than the kind of content type of film which we're talking about now. So it looks like quite a nice, quite enthusiastic documentary, just of filmmakers talking about this era in Korea, which I'm not too familiar with. So I'm going to watch this. To be interesting to see how people. Like Bong Joon-ho, sort of gradually got into film and how they were able to share their passion for film and develop it with another word I hate, cinephiles, but there you go. And maybe because of that, Parasite's actually landed on Netflix finally, which is weird because it's been everywhere else. It's weird.
It was on Amazon for quite a while, wasn't it?
It was on Amazon for quite a while, and I mean it's weird thinking it's 4 years old now, Parasite, right? 2019 anyway. So it's I don't know. I still don't think Parasite had as much of an impact as some other people have said it has or did. I don't think it's led to a massive revolution in interest in Korean film.
No,
I mean it's a subject we've covered many times. On the podcast, so we don't need to get back into it. But yeah, I guess if there's anyone left who hasn't seen Parasite, they can certainly watch it now. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't seen Parasite, whether you like it or not, I'd be very surprised if anyone listens to this.
If you are, you'll have some strange experiences listening to a podcast where we've been talking about it quite a few times.
I think Parasite is probably the film which has come up the most in the whole history of the Eastern Kicks podcast.
It's one of the early ones, yeah.
It's fair enough. But though, I mean, those are really the only films which have popped up. There's not much from, but have had a couple of series. There's one I'm definitely going to check out called Mask Girl, which looks pretty good. It looks kind of like a Perfect Blue style one based on a webtoon about a young woman who wanted to become a pop star but's too insecure about her looks, so she becomes some kind of online internet personality wearing a mask, but it all goes dark and apparently gets weirder and weirder as it goes through it. So I've heard good things about that. It seems to get into like psychological mystery, surreal territory.
And I think it's worth mentioning that Sweet Home is getting a second series from December the 1st as well.
Good. I enjoyed the first series of that very much. So I'm glad that's quite a while it's taken for it to get to. So it's something which has survived being cancelled after one episode by Netflix.
But that's, I mean, and again, we'll probably end up kind of repeating ourselves. But that's very normal for a lot of Korean series. I mean, I think we discussed this before with things like Squid Game, but it's quite normal for. There's not that same process that particularly you get with US shows where it's like, okay, we're going to do a series and this is going to be an annual thing. It's like, we've done a series. Oh, it's been really successful. Right, we better do the next one. Which is why Squid Game is up in the air. Hellbound, has got a second series going, but it's going to be a long time till that kind of arrives. And I think that that has the potential to be really interesting from the first series.
Yes, I enjoyed that.
But
I enjoyed Hellbound very
when
much.
it arrives, it's going to be who knows. So that's.
But it's an interesting mismatch with the Netflix philosophy in that regard of like make something, then either cancel it very quickly or renew it very, very quickly and get them out. So, but you're right, the Korean ones can take quite a very long time. In some cases, actually to come out. So it's. No, I mean, this looks pretty good. Mask Girl, so check it out. I'll let you know what I think of it. I guess the other one, it's not specifically Asian. I just mention it because it's been talked about a lot. But the One Piece adaptation, from the incredibly popular manga by Ichiro Oda, which I've never read, but seems to be involved like wacky pirates.
I mean, I've never read the manga. I know it's been made into anime previously, and this is a live action series. This seems to be getting a lot better reaction than things like Cowboy Bebop.
Real Cowboy Bebop. Much
and several other live action adaptations, but in particular, this one is.
It's been renewed for second series, I believe. So that's kind of a miracle. Everything we've said, but then. Yeah, Cowboy Bebop. That didn't really go down well. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I haven't read it. I haven't seen the anime, so I'm not going to watch it, to be honest. But I still, I don't know. I see the trailers for it and I see the pictures, and it just these things never look quite right to me. When you see people wearing costumes and with like coloured hair and whatnot, which is obviously. I'm guessing is pretty faithful to the anime or the manga, but they just don't look natural. It doesn't look like things people would actually wear or cover. It's same with like superhero films. If you saw somebody really just in their like pants and tights and everything, then it's pretty ludicrous. So this looks a bit. To me, it looks a bit unnatural. To me, it looks a bit odd. But you're right. It's certainly both fans and critics in general seem to have said it's pretty good fun. So fair enough in that respect. I'm not gonna watch it, but it'll probably inspire, or at least maintain the possibility of Netflix doing more live action, anime and manga adaptations. Whereas after some of the flops, like you say, Cowboy Bebop, maybe that kind of one, the failure of that and the real hate it actually generated.
Yeah.
I think I tried watching one episode and fell asleep during it. So it did seem pretty bad, to be fair. Even just as a general audience member, because I only was passingly familiar with Cowboy Bebop as well. But after that was so hated that you might have thought Netflix would have stepped back. But I guess with this being, much better received, I guess they'll still be in the market for.
There's a long running time for these sort of productions anyway, so it might well have been in progress. And they decided to run with it, but it's I mean, we'll see, and I guess we've already said we're not really talking about anime that's on these streaming services, but I mean particularly Netflix does have a huge chunk of anime, and I think what they're trying to do is trying to cross over those streams and get they've got the anime fans, they've got the the people who watch live action and try and get that cross mixing up, but we'll see how successful that is.
No, fair enough, but I'm guessing you won't be watching One Piece either. But
it's not top of the list, and I've got
well, that's it, isn't it? The list never stops growing, so something like that. It's not really going to fight its way onto it. But anyway, that's it for Netflix. So Amazon, the main one on Amazon. Definitely I was very surprised, unexpected. Seeing in my mother's skin, which is, it's technically a Filipino film, right? It's 2023, but it's a co-production with Singapore and Taiwan. Went down very well at Sundance and other festivals. I've not seen it, but you have.
I've seen it, and it's a really impressive. It's very much an atmosphere piece, and this is the director is Kenneth Dagatan. He really does create a very impressive. It was kind of like the house isn't haunted, but the house is very much a character in this movie, and that is very effective. And it's a really interesting mix. In some ways, I was quite surprised Amazon picked this up because it's not a massively generic horror. It is based very much on the situation in the Philippines at the time, with Japanese occupation ending, with lots of folklore. It's got a lot of very still kind of imagery in there.
Not slow cinema, I hope.
Not slow cinema, but it does. It does let that atmosphere just kind of happen. So in some ways, I was quite surprised because it's almost it does play. It's very much in the sort of the Asian films which kind of you would expect to see doing a lot of festivals. Yeah. But not necessarily being picked up by somebody like Amazon.
No.
To be put out by, and we know that behind this, I haven't seen any announcements on dates, but Mikhail Red's The Leader is coming out at some point on Amazon as well. So this is quite an interesting direction for Amazon. I don't know whether it'll carry on, but it is definitely a good solid horror and. Just generally interesting because of exploring the folklore. The only downside for me was some of the CGI that's used in there, which actually didn't really need those sequences for the sort of the effects that are being applied. But I can see why he did it, but it didn't really need to do that. So, but it's well worth watching.
No, I'm definitely gonna check it out. And as you say, it'd be interesting to see if they do pick up more. And I suppose it's also just weird in a good way that it's actually. One thing I'm sure we'll always say about Amazon is it's just incredibly hard to find stuff on there. But this is actually one of their Amazon originals. It's actually on the homepage, which is even more surprising to an extent. Because like you said, even without having seen it, I can tell it's more leaning on the sort of art housey side more than a sort of ooga booga horror type of thing. So it's seeing it highlighted, and it's sitting there next to John Wick 4. Seeing it sitting there. I don't know, man. I think a lot of people will probably click on it without really having a clue, and hopefully some of them will stick around. And so, interesting to see, and hopefully we'll get more of that because Southeast Asian horror. It's a very interesting time over the last 5 years or so. Anyway, so hopefully maybe we'll see some more stuff appearing on there too. But although I did find another one. This one's from Indonesia called Spirit Doll, which I haven't heard of. It is a 2023 film from a director called Azhar Kanoy Lubis, who's actually done quite a few horrors I checked out, called Follow Me to Hell, A Deal with the Devil, but very standard plot. I think it's kind of the opposite of In My Mother's Skin. It's about a horror actress who becomes obsessed with a doll that she thinks is the spirit of her dead kid, leading to murder and madness. But less than 90 minutes. So I think I probably will check that one out too. Just because it is a good time for Indonesian horror of late. This obviously isn't one of the sort of black magic or Gong Tao type of ones, but I'm not so familiar with this side of Indonesia and Southeast Asian horror. This sort of more commercial. This sounds generic. I'll say generic and not necessarily a bad way, but those are the ones we get less exposure to, I guess, because they don't play at festivals. They're never going to get released anywhere. And Spirit Doll I only found because it was when I clicked on In My Mother's Skin, and it was, you might also like Spirit Doll. So So we'll see. But for us, for fans of this kind of, not just Asian cinema, but I guess some more of the obscure corners of it, it would be good if this stuff starts coming through. Although if Spirit Doll turns out to be dreadful, then that's not really gonna help the cause. But another Southeast Asian one. I mean, kind of is a film. There's a film called P has just arrived, which is a 2006 film. It's a Thai UK production. It's by a former British child actor who directed it, called Paul Spurrier, who's in The Wild Geese, amongst other things. But he spent a lot of his career working in Thailand, by the looks of it. He's done some more. He directed the film The Forest, and he's turned up as an actor. He's recently. Do you remember there's a film called Inhuman Kiss, which is on Netflix? It's over 2 hours, and neither of us have seen it. But it's a Thai horror one, which is kind of a Gong Tao-y plot about like flying head Gong Tao, but romantic. Very popular in Thailand apparently, but the running time put me off. Anyway, it's got a prequel, and he stars in that. And he was also in a film on Shudder called The Influencer, which I thought was terrible. Anyway, but the thing is, like, P is one of the. I'm sure it was released by Tartan way back, but I never got to see it, and it always sounded pretty good. It's another sort of black magic type of film about a young village girl who gets taught Gong Tao by her grandmother, and then she moves to the big city and gets caught up in working in a sleazy bar, and she starts using black magic against people. But I heard it was pretty good, but I never had a chance to see it before, so I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out. It's good to a completely random one, to be honest. So that's one of the occasions where Amazon actually kind of comes up trumps with stuff.
I guess we always have to kind of have the proviso on anything on Amazon that
it could have disappeared by now. Yeah.
Well, does disappear. There's also if it is a decent copy of it and it's not just been
also
uploaded by somebody who doesn't necessarily have the rights. So I mean that's always a little gamble that you have on Amazon that you don't have that on Netflix.
No, that's true. Or Shudder, you're right. There's a lot of murkiness to Amazon, and they've said that they've made steps to now you have to authenticate some kind of ownership for stuff you upload. But I'm sure, something like this, say something like P, which I doubt anyone necessarily massively holds the rights to anymore. Even anyone could upload it, I guess, and be making their 2 pence a click or whatever it is they get. So you'd have to be doing that kind of thing in bulk. You'd have to be doing lots of films to actually make. If you're not pirating, you know what I mean. If you're doing it in a dodgy way, you'd actually have to be putting up a lot of stuff to actually get enough clicks to make it worth your while. Especially given some whatever copyright risks you're running into. But
I think if you're doing it for free, kind of included with Prime, then yes.
Yeah.
I think, and I don't know what the arrangement is there. I think the arrangement is when people buy. Actually, Amazon's quite generous in that it's like 50%. But how many people buy Prime videos off of the?
Yeah, that's true. I would never buy. I don't think I've rented once or twice stuff off Amazon through gritted teeth, just because I kind of had to. But I wouldn't buy something like that on Amazon and just hold technically a digital license to while it actually lasts, because I don't know how long you actually, your ownership for it would actually last or transfer or anything. So
the whoever owns the distributor, that lapses and it gets to someone else, then that's it. It's gone.
Yeah,
it's not like
exactly.
Copy.
No, I agree. But yeah, I'm going to check out P. Anyway, and Amazon's also pretty good. It's also pretty good for Korean stuff turning up quite randomly, like the 2021 blockbuster Escape from Mogadishu, directed by our old Ryu Soon Wang, and he's one of those guys. So I always associate in that kind of, I don't know. You always call them the noughties, but what do you call the next decade, like 2010 to 2020?
The 2010s, I think.
Well, fair enough. I think in the 2010s. No, the 10s or the 2010s, I guess. But he was always one of those directors. I think he was churning out so many of the big blockbusters back then. Like
it was. I mean, his stuff does go back to the Hallyu wave and at the beginning of the 2000s. But he had the success and the budgets, the Berlin Bar and all those films where he really. It was really kind of rolling in for him. But the City of Violence.
City of Violence, yeah.
And it was that was pre 2010s, wasn't it? That was
that was one of the early,
yeah.
the first ones. Yeah, that was a fantastic film. And most of the films, I don't like the Berlin Files so much, but most of the ones he directed were actually pretty good. But but I never caught this one. I mean, it was another one that got delayed and moved around due to COVID and stuff. But so I mean, it sounded fairly interesting. A true life story set in Somalia, when they were having to, one of those, you see quite a lot of these films from different Asian countries. China does quite a lot of them too, about consulate staff having to escape exotic war zones, basically. So, but this was said to be pretty good, and it was quite a big hit. But it's just over 2 hours, so I'm not sure I would get to. But I think it was released in the West, right? Did Well Go release it in the US, maybe? I'm pretty sure somebody did.
Yes.
Yeah, but I missed it around that time, and I don't know. It's an interesting one to have on there, and again, it seems fairly random as to how or why it was uploaded on there. We'll see. But I found another Korean one. Talking of randomness, is Zombie School. I've never heard of Zombie School before. From 2014. I know nothing about it, but I find that quite strange, because you'd think a film called Zombie School, if it had been released anywhere 10 years ago, we'd have at least heard of it or come across it from somewhere. And it is actually an old film. I've had a quick flick through some just to check, because Amazon. I guess another thing about Amazon is, and I'll mention this again shortly, is they don't exactly seem to fact check. When stuff was uploaded as to whether there's so much stuff listed as a 2023 film.
Yeah, and that's just when it was uploaded.
Exactly. So this, it's another one which falls into this, but it is an older film, and it does have an 18+ advisory or warning on it, so it might be pretty fun. So less than 90 minutes, so I'll probably check that out. But I also found The Beast, which was added. I actually reviewed that for Eastern Kicks and gave it 4 stars. So it's got the Kicks official seal of approval. It's a 2019 one. Very generic plot. I wrote 2 cops lock horns and step outside the law in the hunt for a brutal serial killer. Which,
you're really
never heard that before. Although it is actually a remake of a 2004 French film called 36, which I think Tartan.
Okay, I do remember. I remember 36 getting quite. That was one of those films that. There was quite a lot written about at the time when it came out, wasn't it?
It won a lot of awards.
Reasonably widely released, I think, at the time. I do remember.
Yeah. I don't think I saw it, but no, it's actually a remake of that. But it's a good film. I mean, it's the kind of plot you'll have seen a million times, especially if you've seen anything like the Public Enemy series. It's very much just that kind of thing. But I thought it was very. If you haven't seen that kind of thing before, maybe, another thing we say quite a lot in podcasts is we're looking back much more fondly at the ghost films of the early 2000s, which at the time were just generic. So maybe some of these Korean cop films in 10 years' time we'll start looking back on with a touch of nostalgia. Because at the moment...
Depends what's going on at the time, doesn't it? That's
true. That's true. But this one is definitely worth checking that out as well. But... so moving on to Japan, the main biggest one which has been added is a new film called Jinganda Daisuke, which is a 2023 film from Hajime Hashimoto. And the most interesting credit of everything he's done is Flower and Snake Zero from 2014, the very long-running bondage series about people getting tied up a lot and not liking it and then liking it. So he did one of those films. So. But it's legendary gunfighter comes to Japan to find the world's best gun maker. And again, very, very generic plot. He meets a young girl who's on the run from a mysterious organization and has to protect her. But I guess the main thing is it's a spin-off from that Lupin the Third manga, anime, TV, film adaptations. He's one of the main characters in that. So I guess this is like a spin-off adventure for him. It apparently doesn't have any of the other characters from the series, so you could watch it if, like me, you've never read, seen, or know even that much about Lupin. But it's probably one of interest to fans. I didn't even know that's what it was until I looked into it a bit. And I saw the trailer. I mean, it looks... we talked about One Piece before, and it still looks like that kind of thing. Very flashy and slick, but just don't look quite right to me. People wearing those kind of costumes and whatnot and everything. So it's probably fine. I'm guessing it's quite badly paced because it's over 2 hours. So, and that kind of film, if you're making that kind of like comic book spin-off type film, you shouldn't really be going over 2 hours. So, yeah, but we'll see what the fans think of that. But again, it's on there. It's one of those ones which is quite highlighted as well as being an Amazon original. So, it's maybe they are moving more into highlighting some of these Asian films, which is no bad thing. But they've added a few older Japanese ones too. Like, do you remember Crazy Samurai 400 versus 1?
I do indeed. I do remember us talking in quite a lot of detail on this very podcast.
Yes, we did. And I also wrote it up as well, giving it 3 stars with all the Tak Sakaguchi. And this is maybe the wrong number. It was like 77-minute action shot or something like that. I can't remember. Might not be 77, but it's something like that. And I remember it being a bit exhausting. Good choreography, but once you realise that's exactly what you're getting, it doesn't really go anywhere else. And you get a few funny scenes where he's obviously exhausted, so his character has to take a rest. So it's a curiosity piece, but mainly one for the hardcore fans. There's also, talk what I said before, like about the wrong year listing of films. Punk Samurai has been added, a new 2023 Japanese film, but it's not. It's a 2018 film. Punk Samurai Slashdown, our old friend's Third Window had put out before. And it's another one by Gakuro Ishii, who used to, and I still know him better as Sogo Ishii, who did like Crazy Thunder Road, Electric Dragon, 80,000 Volts and stuff, all of which are pretty... punk is a good way to describe his filmmaking style. I'm not a massive fan. I find he's different. He's kind of both different and similar to Tsukamoto, but I find his films a bit obscure and hard to follow, Ishii, but with very creative moments in them. Crazy Thunder Road is probably my favourite of the ones of his I've seen, but this is his most recent film, 2018, so it was a few years ago. But there's a lot of fans out there. He's genuinely got a big cult following, so it's good to see that out there for fans to check. And then finally, The Ghost in the Shell, the 1995 anime. The animated films turn up as Amazon, which again, like Parasite, I'd be very surprised if anyone listening to this hasn't seen, but still an amazing film up there.
Yeah, I guess part of that might depend very much on what version has been uploaded, because I know. So there was the original version that we all saw on DVD in the late 90s. It did get a bit of a. Didn't it get sort of a weird
redux
CGI kind of?
There's two. There's the Redux, and there's one which is called something like Ghost in the Shell version 2.0. Something, not 2, because there is the Ghost in the Shell 2. But there's a version which is called. It's got a number, and it's not as good. But it's the 95 one.
It is the 95 one. But also there was. Even within that, there was when it came out on Blu-ray, it was still quite that version, which I think was Manga Entertainment, Manga UK, as it was before it folded, was still a bit different. So you had a nice kind of image quality upgrade, but some of the titles and things were a bit different. The running times very slightly different. So who knows what version?
No, I would have to check it. It's definitely not the CGI'd one we were talking about. But you're right.
And is it original language or is it the dubbed?
Yes, we'd have to double check it all. But they've also uploaded the 2017 Hollywood film, which was terrible.
I never watched it.
No. I did see it in the cinema because I was out drinking and with my old pal Martin, and we watched it, and he fell asleep, and I wished I'd fallen asleep. It's very, very bad. It's not even the casting, to be honest. There was all the fuss about Scarlett Johansson playing the Major, but then the Major's not Japanese in the manga anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But she's awful in it, and she's not a bad actress, but she's awful in it, and everyone's awful in it. It's just dull and it's really cringe. I think, without getting into that too much, there was so much debate about her taking on the lead role, whereas I think what was much worse about the film was just the cringe exoticism of the whole set. Everything about the design was, it's a beautiful anime, it's a beautiful manga, but they took everything about it and they just amped it up through, American filters, like Americanized. And I thought that was the kind of side of it which was really embarrassing, rather than her actually having like a Western actress in that role. So anyway, terrible film. We don't need to say anything more about it. But But yeah, that's kind of it for the streaming channels. But we've had a few films in the cinema. Probably the main, most interesting one was Back Home, which we talked about in our Halloween podcast.
And should still be on screens at the moment as this podcast
time
goes
of recording. Out. And if I have a chance to see it on the screen, I mean, I probably won't while I'm out in the middle of nowhere here, but because obviously I watched it on a screener, and it's a very good film, but it's visually it's very impressive. So I would have liked to have seen that on the big screen if I'd actually had a chance, and I would have, if I'd had a local cinema screening, I would have gone just to support the idea of Hong Kong horror being in UK cinemas, because no one else is doing that. I mean, we're not really getting too much Hong Kong horror in general, but hopefully it's done well enough to at least not put folk off releasing this kind of film in the cinema. And then the same for Where the Wind Blows, which was out in the cinema recently, and obviously which some fine people called Focus Hong Kong did the UK premiere of.
I've heard of them.
So we should really buy them a drink for their efforts sometime. But it's good to see that having turned up as well in the cinema. And again, hopefully it did well enough to at least not put people off putting out more of the same Hong Kong films out there. And that aside, we've also got like Koji Fukada's Love Life, the 2022 film, is getting a UK cinema release. Very well reviewed film.
It's a great film. I saw it. Really good. I think
was it good? I mean, would you recommend it to me?
It's a bit long, so maybe not. I thought it was a really, really, really good film. Really.
What's it about?
Nice. Well, I mean, it's one of those ones where it's on for about half an hour, and then something happens, and then you have the opening titles.
Oh Christ! Okay, so you're not for me.
So it's a tragedy happens to this couple, and then their kind of lives fall apart. But it's very, very well done. I'd say much stronger than his other films. Named after a jazz singer's Ryuichi Sakamoto's late Ryuichi Sakamoto's ex-wife sang the title song "Love Life," which is just a bit of trivia, which doesn't actually mean anything apart from the fact they use it in the film a couple of times. But it is a really good film, and I think because I think it's been on release. I think it's kind of not being massively well handled.
No,
because it was on at London Film Festival last year.
That's right, yeah.
And then kind of putting it out very close to London Film Festival this year.
True.
We'll be coming on and talking about it shortly, but had some really strong Japanese films. I don't know if that was kind of deliberate, but I would have put it in a different time.
Strange move if it was, man. I mean, I mean, you're right. It's. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the box office numbers will be like, or what would have been expected for it. But it's not been generating much, word of mouth or profile for being out there. We can certainly say that much. At least, I mean, it doesn't sound like one I would enjoy. So I'm glad to have, despite not to look down your recommendation, but I think I can safely say it's not really one for me. But it's interesting. It's out there. But yeah, a shame if it's not been well planned, the release, put it that way, I guess. But maybe there's a reason for that, who knows. But and the only other one really was that it's an Asian film, like Past Lives. It's still a US
American
indie. Yeah, from like a Korean Canadian playwright, Celine Song wrote it, and it's kind of set over a 24-year period following the relationship between two childhood friends. It kind of looks like a will they or won't they type of film. I mean, people seem to have absolutely loved it, in some quarters at least. A lot of people we're saying it's one of their best films of the year, and it certainly seems to have done well financially, and it's still playing around. It's even coming to Dunoon, put it that way, where I am in the middle of nowhere next week. So it's actually coming for a couple of screenings here, which tells you something. But did you see it? Or
I haven't seen it, but I heard quite a lot about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll check it out if it's on the streaming. I don't think I would have gone out of my way to see it. I mean, I know. It's not that
it's going out of its way to see you. It's going all the way to Dunoon to see you.
It has.
How could you?
Because I won't be in Dunoon. I'm going to Inverary. If I had been here, I would have gone to see it just because I support my local cinema. But it's not that kind of plot has been done so many times. I'm sure it's very well acted and it's a good character study. But again, it's just not my thing really, to be honest. But fair enough, and it's good to have seen it having been so successful. It'll be interesting to see if, of all the incredibly positive reviews for it do translate into it being hailed, because we're coming towards the end of the year now, so we'll see if it does start turning up in lots of people's end of years and starts turning up in award ceremonies. So it'll be interesting to see, because a lot of people have certainly really, really loved that film, so we'll see. But that's it for the cinema. Your festival write-up.
Moving on to film festivals. I mean, before we get into that, I'm going to take you for a trip down memory lane. Do you remember many podcasts ago when we chatted to the team behind Geran, which, of course,
I do.
Wonderfully given the daft international title of Deed of Death.
That's right.
Which I always wanted to add, and done dirt cheap. And also, I think here it was Silat Warriors Deed of Death, just to make sure there's no prisoners taken alive. But yes, Geran, we spoke to the team, we spoke to the director, Areel Abu Bakar, because they won an Action Award at the New York Asian Film Festival.
That's right.
Well deserved. I mean, it's a very, very enthusiastic film.
Yes, it was.
So, when he was in East London, with his producer Iman To, I caught up with them after they'd been at the Fighting Spirit Film Festival, supporting their latest film Walid, which is very much the same sort of thing, including an action sequence that basically takes up over half of the running time. Nice. And we had a really interesting chat while we were whiling away a cup of tea and a cup of coffee and snacks in trendy Hackney Wick, because that's how I roll. So let's have a listen to that now.
Cool.
Tanah air ini ada rukunnya, kerana tanah air ini akan ada orang yang khianat.
Aisyah ingat, nanti kalau jumpa orang tak kenal, jangan ikut.
Cikgu tak payah duk bagi muka sangatlah dengan puak-puak ni. Kami kat sini nak cemuih dah duk tengok mereka.
Tapi bang, dia orang ni kan serumpun, sebangsa dengan kita.
So let's dive in. Where did the story for Walid come from? Where did the idea for making the film come? Yeah.
The idea come from traveling. So we travel a few place, slum place. So when you arrive that area, you can see the kids begging, and you can see the kids around the table to what we call to begging money, and then they don't have any documentation, and then they just go every alley in the part of Borneo, so you can see the kids cannot do good things, and they came to people and push to want the money. So I don't think it's good for people just see and don't take any action for the kids, because I think it's very, very critical issue when your community or government not solve the problem.
I mean, it's one of the interesting things about the film is that that's the problem with the issue of immigrants is such a big part of it. A lot of people will be expecting it to be just action, a lot more action like Geran was, but it's so much more a part of the story.
I used to more action is symbolized for our field for fighting human trafficking and immigrant is not the end. So I put it action more for so people can be more awareness for solve the problem, and then the issue is nowadays the issue is not be one is called the important issue nowadays. Yeah. So I have to choose the direction, action, and humanity for people come to see this movie. Yeah.
And so, how did you get all the guys together? Because you've got most of the same cast and crew as Geran. In some ways, you're kind of swapping the roles around. So, like Megat is the lead character, and he's the good guy in this one where he wasn't before. How did that sort of kind of come about?
I don't want people just watch the movie because the who cast in that movie. I want the people concentrate about the story first, and then I just choose any cast for my movie. Like Megat, I choose because that's a unique. He's have a unique size.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not like skeptical hero.
Yeah.
And then I think is the main direction is about the story. I choose the story first from without anyone can be a actor. Yeah.
But I mean, he's got a lot of charisma though. I think he fits the lead character really well in this film. I think he's a really good performance.
Yeah, Megat also have a basic martial art. So I anyone one in my movie is all the cast must have basic martial art.
Yeah.
Because my movie is, of course, action movie. Yeah.
And then you've got, I mean, was it the first time you worked for the actress you've got playing the girl? I mean, she was really great. Is that the first time you've worked with her? The girl who gets
fighting.
Well, the one who gets abducted as the young girl.
Oh, si Kasih. Kasih is award-winning kids actor.
Yeah.
Award-winning actor. I choose her because their reaction and their performance very very good, and the face and look like a border Malaysia and Thailand. So the face is I think is nice for this character. Yeah.
So how about, I mean, do you kind of talk about the actual the fighting sequence, which is the second half of the movie? I mean, but you can tell us about how difficult it was to film that, and you have this range of casts from the good guys and the bad guys kind of facing off against each other, and sort of different situations. You can tell me about that, and I think, as you were telling me before about some of the sort of COVID problems as well, because it was done during COVID, wasn't it?
shoot. I would shoot action sequel is 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Shooting days 35 days. 2 weeks also very tough for action sequel because we shoot in pandemic, and then the location is very dust and at the brick factory, and the commitment. Our cast is very good, but the timing for scene by scene is very long journey, and then the choreography must change when we cannot enter a few places because COVID. So we change the screenplay, we change the choreography, we change the setup, the environment change 360 because the place we must shoot in quarry, so we cancel. We just find the block or the factory break for a few angle. We cheat. So the office we cheat. The parkour play with Namron. So we play that area, but like another place. Yeah.
And I mean, even without COVID, I guess 2 weeks must be quite tight to do that much action, and you end up with 50 odd minutes virtually of that sequence.
Yeah.
So that would have been must have been really tight to make sure you got all the footage you needed. For...
I'm lucky because my cast are full practice martial art, and then their commitment is very, very superb, and their training you just tell them what you must do, and then they came out with the idea, the angle, and the what they can maximum do for the action. So I'm very impressed for their skill and their what do you call their commitment. Very, very, very superb in action part. Yeah.
Is there any one of those parts of that sequence that you really like? Is there anyone that really kind of stands out for you that you're really proud of or amazed that the guys did something as good as that? Is there anything?
I love my action choreographer Koharullah Majid is very, very talented for choreo action part, and if my personally I love scene at the block inside the red brick block, and Walid fight with the race in water. That's I think it's a good choreography and different from my late movie.
Yeah. So you've done this, and we're hoping that Walid travels to gets a proper UK release and gets to maybe a release in Hong Kong, etc., etc. It'd be nice to kind of see it out there as action. Can I ask who are your action heroes, or what is your favourite? Who are your action heroes, and what are the films you feel have influenced you the most in making action films?
I love Jackie Chan and of course Donnie Yen.
Yeah,
it's my I love that their reaction, their movement. So I love Donnie Yen action, and then I love their Wuxia movie. So that's they inspired me to make a martial art movie.
very much a Hong Kong kind of.
Yeah. So the real movement, the real action is very, very. Hong Kong is very the best. Choreography, impactful. Their movement fixed and firm. Their I don't know. I'm so impressed. So I want my movie like that. And then when I hope my movie can be a good movie from Southeast Asia, Malaysian movie, a good like Hong Kong movie. Yeah.
So are you working on anything else? What's your next project going to be?
Yeah, maybe I
once you've finished travelling and
my next movie is working title is Abang, means a brother.
Yeah.
So now the process is script 90% done. And now we start maybe after roadshow in Malaysia, Walid roadshow after finish, we go to Recce and start training, and then we start shooting maybe in December, end of this year.
Is it going to be another sort of mix of action and drama, or is it?
It's a still slum area and still black area, still in people issues, still dark issues, and then still action movie, still in maybe is a very, 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 very dark from Walid. Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Tak ada buat apa-apa lagi dah nak melawan. Tak ada adab. Tak tahu bersyukur. Tuhan marah, tahu tak?
Cara kau ni tak akan menghalalkan kekejaman dan jenayah yang kau buat. Lebih baik kau menyerah. Negara ni masih ada undang-undang. Anak-anak tu semua anak bangsa kita.
Dia tak berdosa, baru kenal huruf belum reti baca, baru kenal sayang belum reti bercinta, dah terpaksa.
So of course, the Fighting Spirit Film Festival was a while back, and I need to say, that Walid wouldn't have been in there if I hadn't lined those guys up together. Let's take credit. But it's really nice to see that get some love over here, and
nice.
it's finally been released in Malaysia, and it's been going to several film festivals across the world, but it still seems to be kind of slowly moving towards any kind of digital release, whereas Geran did get quite right to release it in the end. So should we chat about some other film festivals that have been going on?
You can. I mean, with given where I'm living most of the time now, I'm kind of off the festival circuit. So you're our intrepid.
Nothing happens near you. There's no Glasgow.
Well, I might. Well, we'll see. Maybe I will go to that in February. Now that's quite possible. But I mean, London is still always going to be the main place for it. Obviously, it's been very busy festival season, October, November. So yeah, you can. Report back.
Well, yeah. I mean, there was as has been going on for a long time. There are a lot less East Asian and Southeast Asian films this year. There was just one South Korean film, which was quite a surprise. But I think we've already kind of touched on some of the reasons, and we're going to touch on those when we talk about another film festival in a moment. But some of the headline Asian cinema films where there was two big hitters in terms of Japanese film. The main one being Ryusuke Hamaguchi, Evil Does Not Exist, which won the best film for whatever that means, at an official competition. And it's a really,
I never
really great
associate
film.
that with London. It's a funny one. London just never seems to be that a film like a competition festival. But anyway, yeah.
It does have them. It does have them. So so that's a really great film, and it was interesting to see that get awarded.
Yeah.
And we had the latest from Hirokazu Korida, Monster. It feels like there's a little bit of a theme going on with the titles, but again, a very, very strong film. I think it's one of his best films for ages. Although it does the thing that I think will annoy you, where it's not quite Rashomon, but it is doing the same story from 3 different perspectives.
Okay.
But in this case, it's not changing anything. It's just you see them from different perspectives because you see a bit more each time. But it's a great film. It's always getting these and I know he got bored with always having this question thrown at him, but he's always getting these great performances from his kids. The kids that are in his films, and it is a very, very good movie. And as we know, I mean, all these films. I mean, Monster's been picked up for UK distribution. I know Evil doesn't exist by our good friends Modern. There are films from other places. We had Wei Xiujun, who we know for Ripples of Life and Striding into the Wind, and doing something that wasn't about filmmakers for a change, but. Interestingly, was very much about film and cinema. Only the River Flows, and part of the way he works it in is that the local police force have decided to convert an old cinema into their police station, as you do. Really, it is a very, very impressive film, and nice to kind of see him do something quite different in terms of genre. Another kind of popular film. Would be Amanda Nell Hughes' Tiger Stripes, which is a fantastic sort of coming of age body horror type thing. Very, very solid, very good.
I'd like to see that.
So when she was talking about it, she said that one of her main influences was Hausu.
Oh right, okay.
So and also the old school horrors that she was kind of brought up on, the sort of Malaysian horror. So. It is nice to kind of see that make a few strides into different territories, and that one's been travelling for a lot. So then had good old Kim Ji Woon and his returning to comedy with.
Oh yes, how was that?
I mean, if there's going to be a problem with it, you know what the problem's going to be. It's going to be that it is about half an hour too long.
Yeah,
I think that was. Because it means it's a lot of fun. The cast are really great in it. You've got Song Kang Ho, who's actually. I always feel like there's always a danger with him of him kind of taking over a bit, but actually he manages to keep him under control, but still doing what Song Kang Ho does, which is being really kind of gently charismatic. I think you could say. Yeah. But the problem with the length is it kind of covers the sort of the ending. Quite a few times you have that sort of like can we just but apart from that it was really nice to see him get back to comedy and actually he does do it quite well really nice. So there was some interesting, as well as Wei Xiujun, there was some other interesting Chinese entries. We had Wang Bing and Youth spring close brackets and we had Chang Men Kui self-portrait 47 km 2020,
which we screened some of. She's done a lot of the 47 km films, these documentaries, and we screened a few at Chinese Visual Festival, the Deal Age Park. I met her a couple of times in China as well. So very, very.
So it was interesting to see a bit more Chinese films at London Film Festival. Independent, but nothing. In terms of an actual film. From Taiwan, there were no films from Taiwan, for instance. But there were some Taiwanese produced ones, because all of these films, I mean, are so common. They're globally produced, multinational productions, which is very much what happens now. And so, kind of moving on to the latest London Film Festival, Asian related, is the London Korean Film Festival. Which starts today as we're recording. Probably a few days ago by the time this goes out, but it's on from the 2nd of November to the 16th of November. And the opening film is A Normal Family by He Jin-ho, who I think most people remember best for Christmas in August.
Oh, okay, right.
Which is one of those early Korean wave films that,
Yes,
actually at
yeah.
one point I think we all had a copy of it because it was one of them that kind of broke through. One Fine Spring Day is another one of his films.
That's right,
Kind of family drama. The closing film is Dr. Cheon and the Lost Talisman.
Okay.
Which is a debut film by a guy called Kim Seok-sik. And it's got Gwang Dong-won as a fake exorcist. As set up as a mystery thriller. He obviously finds that somebody does get possessed. And
that's pretty good.
And which sounds really interesting for me. And I think it's because it's got Gang Dong-won in it. I just sort of, in the back of my mind, I've got Jeon Woo-chi, the Taoist wizard, kind of going.
Right, yes,
which
of
is,
course.
Which is quite a positive thing to have.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, but I mean, in terms of lineup, I mean, I think it gets kind of, it shows that there's been quite a struggle to get the Korean, all the Korean films, to pick them to be in a festival. I think that there's the production is down. I mean, to go back to Cobweb, what Kim Ji-woon is basically is really, it's a film about how sad the actual kind of proper cinema film industry is in Korea, and I think when it talks about the sort of changes that it's said in the 70s that they had to make under the censorship of the 70s, we're really talking about the sort of changes that people have to make in order to, particularly now where they're having to work with online streaming platforms. So there's a lot less about. They do have an indie talent section, which includes films like Flowers of Mould and A Wing and a Prayer. They've got a 40th anniversary of CAFA, the Korean archive film.
Oh, cool.
We've got the one of the latest Hong Sang-soo films once again, a film called Walk Up. There's a film by, again, I think it's kind of stepping into this thing that we're seeing a lot of with this sort of American production, but there's a Korean-Canadian writer-director called Anthony Shim, and he's got a film, his second film called Rice Boy Sleeps, which is appearing there as well. We've got a bit more of a kind of a few more genres than there have been in recent years, where they have had some action films, but a lot of the cinema has been more on the sort of the art house and the dramas and so on. There's a film called Phantom.
That's been doing the rounds, hasn't it?
Which has been doing the rounds, and is based on the Chinese novel by Mei Jia, Sound of Wind, which was made in 2009 as The Message.
The Message,
Jian Kufu and Guao.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
And the director of Phantom, he's the guy that did Believer, which is a remake of Drug War, and I think he's done similar things, except more so with this, in that the pretext of The Message, where all these suspects of being the spy are all brought in to one isolated house, and then it has very much more of an Agatha Christie kind of vibe to it. About halfway through the film, he kind of just blows that out of the water and it goes full on action. So it is quite different from the original, but it does end up being quite a lot of fun. So I mean, I do think, like I say, I think it's kind of showing that it is in many ways it is more difficult to get a good selection of films.
Yes,
for what is still a big festival in terms of how many films they screen.
No, it's an interesting one. I mean, you still, I forget the source of this, but I was reading, certainly in the last couple of weeks, is an article from somebody which was talking about how good the health of the Korean film industry was and everything, and how many great films to come. And you could tell it was written by someone who didn't really know what they were talking about, because it just isn't that way. I mean, as you said, like it is. Even if you rewind back like 10 years, or even further than that, we were getting so many Korean films coming out. Festivals were just awash with them, not just in the UK but everywhere. quite, I mean, not rare, but it's certainly a lot less than there were before. And even looking at the lineup, I mean, as you said, like the London Korean Film Festival, which is a great event, and I would definitely be going if I was in London. But yeah, it's not retreated, but moved into sort of art house and a lot of drama. Certainly the last couple of editions, which doesn't necessarily help. I think a lot of the time, the popularity of previous Korean waves has been, you know, through genre film. More so than everything else. And you're completely right. It's not that they ignore programming these films. There just aren't that many of them around. And if things like Ballerina or The Call and stuff are just on Netflix productions, then yeah, it's difficult. There was that other quite big one recently, the space one, but that was supposed to have been terrible. And surprisingly, it got released around in different territories, but it didn't come out over here. So there've been a couple of genre bigger films which have been complete misfires as well, which wouldn't have helped. So yeah. But no, I say if I was in London, I'd certainly go along to it. But yeah, it's an interesting time for the Korean industry, and we'll see where it kind of goes. Because other industries like Japan kind of ticks over on most of the same level, but the Korean waves we've had have been so popular and so big, and then less so. So it goes through a bit more peaks and troughs, I think. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes next. And
it's interesting because lots of people were expecting that post Parasite, things would change, and actually. And maybe in part, I mean, we could be generous and put some of this down to the effect of COVID, and particularly in Korea, where it really hit cinemas. Yeah. But yeah, we were always very sceptical about that.
Yeah.
We felt and we felt differently about Parasite a bit, I think, but. We were sceptical that would be the case anyway, and what we've seen is as we started the show, saying that a lot of stuff has moved to kind of directly going to online platforms, and
it's a blessing. And that's a blessing and a curse, really, isn't it? I don't know. But yeah, Parasite, it's certainly post-Parasite, we have not seen a massive wave. And you're right, it's definitely something slight to do with COVID. But I think it's also just that when something like, see, if you just say like another culture like Korea becomes very, very popular in the West, it doesn't become uniformly popular across all areas of that culture. And it's so focused on K-pop and stuff. And then second level down, Korean romance and drama series being the second level down. So you're not going to... It doesn't... If people are so focused on one aspect of it, as they are, then it doesn't necessarily translate that they're going to start going off and watching Korean films. And we haven't seen that. And and as we said at the time, Parasite, although even when it was having its big success at the Oscars and stuff like that, I remember in an early episode of the podcast, I said I didn't think it would have much impact, and it initially seemed like I was completely wrong. But then, I don't think it's had any lasting impact on the Korean film industry or the Western reception of Korean film. To that extent, it's certainly not brought in like a massive wave of Korean films getting released and even immediately after it, there wasn't like a sudden rush of people. Let's pick out the next Parasite, and it did make a lot of money, Parasite, but there was not a rush to try and replicate the success of it, which is unusual because most of the time.
Well, I think there definitely were a few attempts where they were trying to copy it, but actually trying to copy it too closely. So, Koreeda's Broker. Where he gets one of the cast members and the composer Jung Jae-il was on there, and the cinematographer, and you think, well, okay, well, it's a kind of a different subject matter, although still kind of dealing with social classes, but it felt a bit too deliberate in what he was trying to do there, and it didn't work. It didn't pay off.
No, and it's a curate film as well, so it's always going to have his level. He's like a Hong Sang-soo, just makes the same film over and over again, and he will always have a certain level of international and festival release, but it will never really break out of that.
Noddy got a lot for Broker. I mean, Broker did get a
Broker
UK
was probably
release.
even less. He
did get a UK release, but I didn't really see a lot about it at the time. Again,
it'll be interesting to see how Monster does in that respect, because I don't know. I think even guys like Hong Sang-soo and him, I think were more people were more interested in them even like 4 or 5 years ago. I think at the moment it's not so much, but we'll see. I don't really, so I'm not a fan of curate. I don't really have any skin in the game when it comes to Monster, I guess. So I'll be interested to see if it actually does well. But also, as you were saying with Love Life, I think a lot of that will come down to the timing of how and when it's released. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. Interesting to see, though I won't see the film.
So what else is going on festival-wise?
I mean, we are Focus Hong Kong is going to be doing Glasgow at the very start of December. We can't say anything about it. The films are literally just locking in, causing us a great deal of stress. My hair is falling.
Hopefully by the time this
Turn to the drink.
goes to air, as it were, we will be locked in. So
it better
always
be.
find out the latest information on the website.
Absolutely, and also we're also locking in our Chinese New Year program for 2024. Some great Hong Kong films will be screening there, so you can stay tuned for announcements on that. And I'm very happy to say our Halloween screening, Visible Secret, seemed to have gone very well. Not that I was there for it, sadly, but yeah, we will have some more stuff coming out fairly regularly, hopefully, both up here, since I'm up here, and still down in London.
Yeah, and then our friends Sign Screen also doing regular screenings as well.
Yeah, worth keeping an eye on. Get Queer East going out on tour and doing stuff. So yeah, there's still plenty of stuff out there for people to check. So it's good. It's quite healthy, quite a healthy scene. I would say, just in terms of programming, both on the sort of more smaller indie festival level, and hopefully this will start eventually trickling down into more cinema releases for films, and more films actually coming out. As we said before, good to see Where the Wind Blows and Back Home in particular getting released. So hopefully we will start to see more companies willing to take whatever level of risk to get more of these films out there. And I think having that kind of grassroots support from both festivals and smaller film programs and stuff like Focus Hong Kong, not to blow our trumpet, but the more you get out there and you raise the profile of it, well, that's part of it. It's not like we're making money off it, so hopefully it just has a knock-on effect in general, which helps spread the word and helps inspire more of this kind of films to get screened and get released.
That's it for this mega episode of easternKicks Picks.
Yes, yeah, and some of them will have lots of stuff in them, and I guess some of them might have less. It's out of our control.
It's all in the streaming gods, etc.
It's down to the streamers.
But yes, if you feel that we missed anything, you can let us know on socials.
Do.
And don't forget, you can find all of our previous episodes on Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, Google, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe now and you'll never miss an episode. But for now, here's to you.
Cheers.